Every yard, every hit, every second. It's earned out here. This game demands more than just skill. It demands fuel. The right fuel. Because out here, it's not just about how hard you work. It's about how long you keep going. When the game gets real, drink BioSteel.
Welcome in to the final week of the OUA football season. Connor, we have the Laurier Golden Hawks and the Queen's Golden Gales going head-to-head this week to see which one of them gets to keep that initial part of their namesake. Trophies will be handed out, gold medals will be handed out, hats will be handed out, and one team season is going to end on Saturday. So we are all the way in. This is a big time matchup between teams that saw each other in the regular season. It's going to be a good one.
It absolutely is. And we have two separate videos to bring OUA fans this week. We are going to be doing one video for the Laurier Golden Hawks, which we are going to start this video off with. And then we're going to have a second video that we're going to be coming out with to tee up and highlight the Queen's Golden Gales. This is going to be a great weekend of OUA football as we commence here with Laurier. Wade, where do you want to start? Do you want to start overall team? What do you want to start with here as we highlight the Yates Cup matchup?
Well, I think we have to start with the major awards that were announced on yesterday, and that's Ethan Jordan being the most valuable player. Of course, we saw his second straight 1,000-yard receiving season, and Jesse Wilkins-Flaherty being named the most outstanding stand-up defensive player of the year in the OUA. The two really primo awards in the OUA calendar, Connor. Of course, lineman of the year and the freshman of the year both went to the Western Mustangs. This to me, though, you have the returning players that have experienced what Yates Cups are like and have experienced the thrill of winning, as well as the agony of defeat, that are now in the forefront of this program. And it is no longer just oh my God, we have an NFL caliber quarterback at the helm. It is, look at the rest of these stars continue to shine even when we transition in our program.
Absolutely. And if we run down the roster, Wade, you're talking about veteran talent like Quentin Scott, Tayshawn Jackson, the GRT, Darian Bassick Hayden that we love to talk about, Ryan Hughes,
Parcelidis is a first team all-star.
Just names on names on names, right? Like, and we talked to Coach Falls at the start of the season. He's talking about, yes, we lost Taylor, and that is a big loss, but the amount of talent, the amount of names that we have coming back is very impressive. And that's going to be the one thing that he said, or that's going to be one of the things that he said was going to help them late in the season, is going to help them in situations like this. And now here we are in the Yates Cup preview talking about the veterans on this Laurier team. So it just goes to show that these guys are back. They've been there. They know what it takes to get there. Now they're trying to go for a second straight Yates Cup win here in 2025.
And yeah, you talked about all the all-stars and the big names. If you look at the list of all-stars, Connor, there's one position group or one level where they don't have a true first-team all-star. That's running back. Well, that's because they have the second-team all-star in Tayshawn Jackson. So even when they are not really at the forefront, where it is, Laurier offensive lineman, defensive lineman, linebacker, DB, quarterback, receivers, they are still there and still in big time awards. And even, they don't have a special teamer that is on the list of first team or second team all-stars, but Dawson Hodge is not a slouch. We know what guys like Jesse Leomi Ojutalayo can do on special teams as a coverage guy. This team has so much talent, so much depth, so much experience. And really, when we look at this week going against Queens, they have to fold into that. They have to rely on it because Queens is sitting there with as many Yates Cup appearances now as the Laurier Golden Hawks. I mean, Vreekin and co had two early on in their career, and now as they're kind of at the tail end, they're going to get another shot here in 2025.
Well, and you're talking about Vreekin, so let's talk about the quarterback position. And then this matchup, Vreekin is the guy that has been there, right? And Cal Wither hasn't. And obviously that's due to him being down south playing NCAA football. But do you think this is something that comes into effect, or do you think Cal is just who Cal has been throughout the season? Calm, cool, collected, doesn't get phased. Obviously, Vreek with the experience helps. But what do you expect from Cal in his first Yates Cup appearance?
I think it's going to be much of the same, and that is just in part of having Coach Falls and Galloway and Taylor Elgersma and the rest of the experience around him on the coaching staff, and then also in the field. Like he's going to walk into the huddle and hear Josh Reichfeld go, "Hey, dude, we got this. Let's hand the ball off and win the game." Or you'll hear Ryan Hughes, or if Ethan Jordan is back from his 1 game absence last week with an injury, you'll hear him just say, "Hey, take it easy. We got this. We can throw a couple screen passes, get him involved." But if there are any jitters, I don't expect him to last long for Cal Wither. He's played enough football, like you mentioned, down in Ohio, and he's played well enough this year. And certainly the playoff game last week against Guelph would have been the time to get those jitters out. I expect Cal to be efficient, productive, and most of all, make those splash plays down the field with his arm.
All right, let's flip sides of the ball here, Wade. Let's look at this Laurier defense. Obviously, been a very, very impressive unit throughout the regular season, and they've carried that momentum going into the playoffs now here. And they've been one of the best teams at limiting opportunities and limiting point conversions for opposing offenses here. Just the second fewest points allowed in the OUA. Queens is right there with the third fewest points allowed on this one. But overall, too, as a unit, they've allowed just the fourth fewest yards against on the season so far. So it's going to be a tough matchup for this Queens offense. But a guy like Ethan Grigorich, he is kind of one of the driving forces, one of the guys that makes this unit go. So talk a little bit about the Laurier side of the ball on the defense here.
Well, I think it's just a similar story to the offense, right? And we saw Mateo LaQuintana have this like breakout playoff game last year. Jesse Wilkins-Flaherty, obviously the top defensive player this year in the OUA, and Ethan Gregorcic has kind of gone under the radar after having his rookie of the year moment 2 years ago. He comes back last year, has a very good season. This year, he just looks so much more leaned out, looks a lot faster, a lot more confident in his system and in his abilities to make plays, that this front seven can just fly around. And we know how deep this defensive front is with LaQuintana and Marcus Tenney and co. I think that when you're looking at Laurier, just you can't hide anybody in this front seven, because no matter where you're going, you're running into a high quality player and a very high quality starter in the OUA. And when you have that kind of flexibility where you can run guys in off the bench and rotate your D line that easily, then we'll get to Queens when we talk about them, but they have kind of a similar thing going this year where it's just constant pressure, constant chaos, and constant mismatches and matchups that O linemen have to think about, right? If I'm keying in on Marcus Tenney and what he likes to do in the pass rush, all of a sudden I got 3 different guys coming after me. I have to study a lot more during the week to know what kind of moves and games that this D line is going to play as we go into second and long or passing situations throughout the game.
And as we start to wrap up this preview here for the Yates Cup for Laurier, if this game's going to come down to one thing for you, what's it going to come down to?
Turnover battle. We've been very hard on that all season long with a lot of teams, and it's because it's true. If you take care of the football, good things are bound to happen. And when we talk to the Laurier coaches each and every year, it's always about getting the ball from point A to point B on offense, and somehow the quarterback just happens to be a vessel of that. And on defense, it's about getting the ball back to those guys. And when we are looking at a big time matchup against Queens, this defense has a tough task because Alex Freakin takes care of the football. Jairus Azari rarely fumbles. We saw the one against Guelph, and that was kind of it this year in terms of big time turnovers. It's going to be exciting because this Laurier offense has been so efficient the last 3 years. This defense has grown together, and I'll leave you with the DBs because this Laurier group has a ton of guys, and like if they have a say in these matchups, I think Jahari Hastings and Malik Kote are going to make statements here.
I think they will too. Those are two great players to highlight. But overall, I think that they need to be a little bit more buttoned up this week on the defensive end than they were last week, especially in the final half of the game. You got to close this one out if you got a chance to do so. Keep your foot on the pedal. They almost let Guelph back into it, and I know that was last week, and I know it was a good, very talented group led by a guy like Marshall McRae. But Queens is coming in with a guy named Alex Freakin and another unit that is super, super talented. So I think for Guelph, really, I want to see you play tight on the back end. But if you got a chance to close this one out, I want to see you do so. Don't get complacent in that second half. And I think, Wade, we can move on here. We can close this portion of the preview out, close this one off. We'll start another episode up here for the Queens one. So we'll see all our listeners over at the Queens preview.
Before we get out of here, Connor, make sure if you have missed any of the games so far in the OUA season, make sure to go to OUA.tv and check it out. You can see the games all the way back from August, all the way up until now, as we had the second week of the playoffs going last week. Make sure to check that out. That's OUA.tv to see any and all football games live and on demand. You can get all your favorite sports as well. I know we just had the soccer championships that U of T won both men's and women's in. So you make sure to use OUA.tv to see all of your favorite universities in our province play all of their favorite sports.
And as always, stay hydrated with BioSteel, the official hydration partner of the OUA. Again, we will see everybody over in the Queens preview.